Welcome. We are so excited that you are here for Chatting with Chuck. I'm Vicar Jason. I'm joined by Pastor Chuck. We do this every Friday at noon, and this is an opportunity to ask us questions, and we're going to answer them live on stream. But if you don't have questions, we're going to be forced to ramble on and on about random topics. So if you have a question, leave it in the chat, and we're going to answer it a little bit later. But first, we're going to get started, as we do every week, with a word from God's Word with Pastor Chuck.
I've been thinking about this, and these are certainly crazy and unique times. And I was originally going to read from First Chronicles, where David is king of Judah, and more of the tribes begin to go over to him. And it has the sons of Ishkar, who says they understood the times. They could see what's going on. They understood the times. And we need people who understand the times. And what it led me to was Solomon's prayer in 1 Kings 3. Solomon is now, he's become a king, and this is what he said. He said, "You, God, have shown great loving kindness to your servant David, my father, according as he walked before you in truth and righteousness and uprightness of heart toward you. And you have reserved for him this great loving kindness, that you have given him a son to sit on the throne as it is to this day. Now, Lord, my King, and now, Lord, my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, yet I am but a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. Your servant is in the midst of your people, which you have chosen, a great number, who are too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, to discern between good and evil, for who is able to judge this great people of yours?" You know, what Solomon is praying for is just wisdom to lead people. And God said, because you didn't ask for wealth or long life, I'm going to give you all that, but I'm going to also answer your prayer. I'm going to give you wisdom to lead your people. And I think about that, and I think, my, oh my, I need wisdom. I need wisdom. And we all do is we try to navigate this uncharted territory that we have moved into, and learning some new things, discovering new things. Personally, I find it's best just to surround my people, like David, with those who understood and understand the times, and especially when it comes to technology. And so we are all sailing through this together, and we all need each other desperately in this time to help us figure out as we move forward in faith. But what we do know is no matter how far we move forward, how far we get into this uncharted territory, God is already there. And He's waiting for us. He has these promises for us, and He's got nothing but good for us. So we're going to trust and believe in Him. To God be the glory for what He's going to do in this crazy time. Amen.
Amen. That's better than I thought we were going to talk about He-Man.
He-Man. Yeah, who's in the Bible. Yeah.
He-Man was a musician in the Bible. He was a drummer. He was banging cymbals and stuff.
Well,
we should get our drummer to dress up as He-Man one week.
I think he already does.
That would be good. He looks like He-Man.
I think Wiskin is Creole for He-Man.
It might be. It might be. All right, so if you've got questions for us, go ahead and leave them in the chat. But first, we're going to talk about a few things that are going on here. And one of the things that happened here just this, was it this past weekend, really? It's only been this past Saturday.
Last Saturday.
We had a congregational meeting. And we do 2 of these a year as a requirement as part of our Constitution. Sometimes there's special meetings that come up. But the September meeting is usually a pretty packed meeting. And a number of things happen there. We vote on officers for our ministry council, which we did, and everybody got elected, so that was good. And we vote on a budget, which is what allows us to, it's like a spending plan, so we know how to use the gifts that God has given us in this place for ministry in the coming year. So we did that. And we also, this time, had a special item voting on some changes to our Constitution, which we passed, that are going to allow us to do some in-person or digital voting if we need to in the future. In person, I think, is going to be our norm for meetings whenever we can, obviously.
They need to be in person unless there are extraordinary circumstances. We don't want to get into the habit of online.
Yeah, so mostly in person, but when we need it, we'll have the option to do digital voting, which has been a direct response of the pandemic.
Yes.
We realized, oh man, we should probably have this in there. So that passed. But what was really neat about this meeting and was different, every year we, as part of our budget process, we tithe 10% of all the gifts that come in. And we believe very strongly in this, that this is what God commands us to do as individuals, but he also commands his church to do this. And so we tithe 10% of what comes in from the gifts and offerings of God's people to primarily benefit ministries or Christian organizations outside of this family of faith. And as a part of that, this year we did something new in choosing where part of that might go. So, Pastor, what was the process, and what did you notice in the voting?
Well, first of all, I want to talk just about a budget in general, because we have here, we work really hard at this, especially the executive ministry team, of coming up with what we believe is going to be a realistic budget, and then we come up with a balanced budget, and then we present it to the ministry council, 7 people, awesome people, and they kind of refine it and look at it and say awesome, and so we really believe strongly about having a balanced, realistic budget, and we work really hard to try to stay within our budget, and if it looks like we're not going to meet it, we work really hard at cutting expenses. It's real important. And then this tithe is real important because we believe as a church we're doing exactly what God calls us to do. We're setting an example for everybody as individuals. The tithe comes off the top, first part. And so knowing that our budget kind of varies, some years a lot of giving, some years struggle, and we don't quite make in the budget. So we have what we call a variable in this, so that we're doing at least 10%. We have some of our tithe that is going to go out. I mean, about $83,000. But there's some that we're not really sure. And so this year we had about $8,300 that we wanted to give to some other ministries as well, because the tithe goes outside of us, doesn't stay here. And so we gave everybody an opportunity to have some input, and we narrowed it down to 6 ministries, and everybody got a chance to vote on where they wanted some to go. Really interesting process. Everybody has a voice because the church belongs to the Lord and to the people. And what I found fascinating is out of the 6 ministries we had, 3 were really at-large Lutheran denominational type ministries, like Pastoral Leadership Institute, which I went through, awesome program. Kindle, which we benefit so much from here, which is a leadership institute especially designed for those leading from a second chair, DCEs, that kind of thing. But we use a lot of it here to train people in leading and being leaders by example, leaders in their community and the church. Anyway, but it's a national program, really, really good stuff. And then Lutheran Hour Ministry. So we had 3 national bodies. Lutheran Hour Ministry is the largest, longest running radio ministry in the world. So really good stuff. They do great programs. But then we had 3 local ministries. We had a Teen Challenge, which even though it's a national ministry, we're talking about local. It's helping people overcome drugs and addiction, and a very Christ-centered program. We had Compass Care, which is a pregnancy alternative. It does helps people going through pregnancy that really some guidance other than choosing to abortion or to terminate, but really help them with their pregnancy. And then Kairos, which is a prison ministry. Does a lot of ministry into the local men and women's prisons and Wendy and Angola, all around. Really, really extraordinary program. Really bring Christ into the prison. Well, those were the 6 we had, and everybody voted. And actually, what was so fascinating is, as great as these 3 denominational national ministries are, and they were all given some money, the 3 biggest, most popular ones that people were really interested in supporting were the local ministries. The Teen Challenge was first, and I think Compass Care was that second.
Yeah.
And and then Kairos. So it's just really, really speaks about the desire that people have here to reach into our communities with the hope of Jesus Christ. Really exciting stuff. And so they voted, and monies were sent out this week.
Yeah, we sent everything. So thank you for participating in that. And we are going to do this again at our next budget meeting in September. So this year we kind of figured out what that variable amount might be based on our best guess for income. And then at our meeting in September of 2021, we'll vote after all the money is in, all of the gifts are in, we'll know how much we need to send out, and we'll vote again, and we'll look at maybe some similar ministries, maybe different ministries, we don't know. But we'll vote again and look at how to distribute that tithe. So thank you for participating in that. If you got to be a part of that in choosing, thank you for being there. But also thank you to everybody who gave and made that possible, because your gifts to this ministry and this church make that kind of a tithe possible. So thank you for supporting it in that way as well.
Pretty exciting. If you think about, we sent out somewhere around $83,000 to ministries outside ourselves this year.
It's super exciting. Yeah, very fun.
So fun.
Yeah, so another thing that your gifts and tithes do in this ministry, in this place, is pay for technology. And we've had some new expenses for technology this year. We don't normally spend a big portion of our budget on technology, and we didn't spend a giant portion of our budget on technology this year, but we did have a number of new technological requirements because of COVID, as we think about streaming worship, and we're getting into our new programming year and what that means in technology. But there's also some other needs that come in this season. So as we think about, let's talk about technology first, I guess, Pastor. What are we seeing as far as technology needs here at church in response to the COVID pandemic?
Things have changed so much. My abacus is hardly keeping up anymore. Things are changing so fast. And fortunately, we have people like you and Jim and Josh who really understand the times. That's why I talked about surrounding myself with people who understand the times, because it makes me look so much better. But we have learned so much from being shut down, and what are we going to do for worship? People can't come. Let's see what we can do to live stream. And I believe you got us on a YouTube channel. You said, look, let's get people to respond, get us a YouTube channel. So we got on a YouTube channel. Now what? Well, now we got to be able to live stream it. And for a while, we were doing a couple of phones set up on tripods, and that you can only do so much with that. And Jim helped us get some cameras, and then we got monitors, and we got Vacation Bible School, and we just kept growing. We got a green screen and cameras. It just changes, and what we're trying to do is to present the Lord our very best, and it's requiring just constantly learning and staying ahead of the game. What's up there? What are possibilities? And so my job is really to surround myself with people who know what's going on, because man, it's just a lot.
Yeah, it is. In fact, just today, actually, we hung another monitor in the back.
It's very cool.
Look, there they are. The guys upstairs are here today to run the booth. We got two of them. Josh and Jim are both here to run the stream, and so we add another monitor, this time on the lectern side of the church. And this is going to give us the ability to see from the front what's on stream and what's going on in the service, where we're at in the service, the PowerPoint slides, if you will. So we'll be able to see that, and it allows us to interact with the stream a little bit better. Now, along with all of this technology for worship, we also are recognizing a need for technology in keeping ministry going. At first, it was just kind of get this up and running and make sure we can do worship well. But now we want to really be able to minister to people at various comfort levels. So, for example, our adult class for Bible Hour has been online via Zoom and in person. And a hybrid class like that has a different set of obstacles and challenges. And so we're slowly redoing the technology in the lower level to make that a better experience, especially for people at home. When you're in the room, it's natural to kind of engage and be a part of it. But when you're joining from home, it's a lot more challenging. And so we're looking at how to really make that experience great for people who are joining us from home. And long term, right, Pastor said, this kind of stuff is here to stay, and we're going to need to continue to offer this. So we're now investing in technology in the lower level in order to make that happen. We're actually taking what we learned with our worship and VBS and Sunday school YouTube streaming, and we're building a second mobile streaming station so that we can use it in the gym for FT Kids, but we'll also be able to move that around campus and use it for different things. So if we want to do Chatting with Chuck, different rooms, we'd be able to take the little mobile streaming station and plug our mics in and do kind of fun stuff there.
Let me tell you, that's so key, because it's more than just experiencing all this new technology. This is the way we have to minister these days. I'm thinking of a funeral that we had for a soldier who we had participation all over the world for this guy. We've had funerals, we've got weddings. We're trying to minister to people, and because of COVID, people can't come. We've got to live stream it. We've got to be able to do it in a way that really captures the heart of what's happening. I mean, this is not just for technology's sake. This is ministry in the 2020.
Right, and Pastor's exactly right. This is really about reaching people, and we say all that about the technology to say this: as great as technology is, it doesn't run itself.
Yeah, no.
And this, with increased technology comes an increased need for people to serve and use their gifts in ministering to others, and sometimes that takes the form of running technology. And so just a neat story about that. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been getting more people involved in our worship streaming and our Sunday school and that kind of stuff. So a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago, Brian and Will Lackey were here to learn how to do PowerPoint and streaming, and they've both kind of learned both aspects of that, and they're growing in their confidence. Last weekend for worship, Lindsay Galuzza was doing our cantoring and for the traditional service, and her son Sammy was here, and so he got drafted into PowerPoint, and he said, this is kind of fun. I'd like to learn how to do the streaming, and so I think this week he's going to learn how to do the live stream. But boy, there's just so many more needs, and sometimes we think about, like I've got the gift of technology and being able to use computers, and I'm not sure how that translates into ministering to others, but boy, we've been thrust into an era where that is a huge asset and gift that maybe some of you possess, and if you wanted to get involved in serving others in that way, we would love to have you. You can talk to me if you want, but it might be better to just get in touch with Jim or Josh directly, since they end up running a lot of that stuff on Sunday morning. But if you don't have their information, you can get in touch with me, and we would love to have you in serving, because it's just a new way of ministering. I mean, we should add, what we should do? We should add technology to the spiritual gifts.
Well, I'm thinking too, so we have Brian and Will and Sam and Jennifer and all these young people discovering they can use their gifts and ministries to serve the Lord and to serve His people. Very exciting. You and I talked about this a while back, not too long ago, that a long time ago, about 7 years ago, we figured out it took about 50 people just to get a service going on a weekend. And now it's just expanding, and more people have this opportunity to get involved in worship. Very exciting.
Yeah, very, very fun. So yeah, lots of great stuff going on, lots of cool stories with that. And on the subject, since we're kind of on worship, let's talk a little bit about worship. As we got into the pandemic, we had to make some changes to accommodate live streaming. And then as people started coming back into the building, we started to make some more accommodations for balancing a stream-only kind of worship service to a in-person and stream. And early on, we weren't able to do the Lord's Supper together, and we went a number of months, and then we decided to do online communion. But we want to start moving back towards twice-a-month communion. So, Pastor, let's talk about how that's going to work moving forward. We announced this at some of the services. I forgot at the Contemporary last week, but we announced it at Saturday in the early service. So let's talk about communion. What's coming up with the Lord's Supper in worship? All
right, so we're going to go back to the Lord's Supper twice a month on the first and third Sundays. And so if you're here on the first, well, it doesn't matter where you are, the first Sunday of the month, we're still going to live stream Lord's Supper so you can participate. If you're not here, you'll still be able to participate wherever you are at worship, as long as you have the elements. But on the third Sunday of the month, it's just going to be in person. We're going to cut the live stream at that point. We're just going to do in-person Lord's Supper. We're really going to be emphasizing on the third weeks the communal aspect of the supper, how we are in fellowship with one another, proclaiming we are one body. And it's a little more difficult for us to do that when we're doing it online. In fact, our denomination is really encouraging people to move away from online worship, but
Online communion.
online communion, I'm sorry. Yeah, whew, online communion. And because they really want us to have a handle on it. I get it. We don't want to deny people the grace that comes in the Lord's Supper. So we're going to do it right now. First Sunday of the month will be streamed online. Third Sundays will be just in person.
Yeah, and I guess, one of the questions maybe is, why does it matter even that I take communion? Like, why is that such an important thing to us?
Yeah, especially to us as Christians, as Lutherans, that Lord's Supper is truly, we call it in our denomination, we refer to it oftentimes as a visible means of grace, where God truly meets with us in that moment, truly comes to us with His, truly present in the bread and the wine, truly there with grace. It's a covenant meal where we are just in a special fellowship with Him, where there is forgiveness and grace and life. It's huge. It is confessing our unity together as a body of Christ. It's really important. Without going into a big long thing, it's very important.
Yeah, I did my last class was on the means of grace, and we had 4 weeks, 4 2-hour sessions, and tons of reading on just the Lord's Supper, and I felt like we were only scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a powerful thing. So we're excited to be able to offer that in a number of different ways in worship, and really excited this communal aspect on the third Sundays. And I think what you said last week in the sermon was this is one of the ways we connect with the other believers, the other parts of this body of faith, and so what a neat way to do that. So if you're interested in coming to in-person worship, again, we did make some changes. There's no sign-up necessary. You can just show up. And if you're here, we'll wear masks while we're standing or seated, while we're standing, but not while we're seated. So if you're in the pew seated, you don't need to wear the mask. The caveat is all of our speaking and singing will be standing so that we have the masks on, because that's when we're at most risk. So we're going to use the mask for those parts. But when we're seated listening to the sermon or the readings or other parts of the service, you won't need to wear the mask. And when you're ready, we're ready for you. So come on back. We'd love to have you. And if you're not ready, we would love to have you in the stream worshiping that way. All right, so last kind of topic from us, and then we're going to get to your questions, and there's not been very many of them. So if you have questions, get them in the stream, in the chat. But last topic is worship again, contemporary worship. We've been in a search for a worship person now for 2+ years, actually almost 2.5, I think, since we first started this. So what are we asking people to do right now, Pastor?
This is for me, and I know the rest of the staff especially, and so many people here, this is our priority focus right now, is finding someone to lead in contemporary worship. And what we have discovered is the difference it makes to have someone who's really been trained, theologically trained to do this. It's an important position. The biggest thing we can do right now as a body of believers is pray, pray, pray. I'm asking that you would just spend some time daily and put this on top of your prayer list after your family maybe, that God would provide just the person we need, because this is huge. This is going to really, in my mind, carry us to the next level in worship, and worship changes everything. It's huge. We need it. So pray, pray, pray. In fact, pray specifically that God prepare the heart of the person He has in store for us, and that they would be open and ready and willing to step out boldly in faith and come to this area. What we are also seeing, there are some really talented people out there, and so we know God's got the one, and we're not going to just jump in and settle. We're going to wait for the person God has in mind, but we need your prayers.
Yeah, and always a good plan to wait for God's person. Yeah, but prayer, prayer is powerful. We say this all the time. Prayer is powerful, and sometimes I feel like, we have this expectation like, well, they don't really need my prayers. There's other people praying, or I mean, God's just going to do what he's going to do anyway. But we see time and time again God responding to the prayers of his people. So please be praying about this ministry in general, but specifically praying for that contemporary worship position, that search, that God would send just the right person at the right time, and that we would be ready to receive that person. So yeah, super exciting stuff. All right, so let's get to the questions in the chat. I've only got one, and it's for me.
Oh.
From my mom.
Oh.
My mom wants to know if this is a Sherwin-Williams shirt, and that my mother-in-law would be proud. It is. It is a Sherwin-Williams zip-up. My mother-in-law worked for Sherwin-Williams in the HR. She was much beloved there. She actually, I feel like she knew everybody in the entire company, which is saying something. It's a pretty big company, but I keep finding people, even here, who know Phyllis or someone connected to Phyllis from her time at Sherwin-Williams. So yeah, but it's one of my, I didn't wear my Bills thing today because, I mean, it is Bills Friday, but I thought, well, I'm going to go with blue because last week Pastor didn't have any Bills
Well,
stuff
you
to
have your
wear.
Bills colors.
I know, that's why I went blue because it's the Bills colors.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to make Pastor feel bad because he didn't have his Bills stuff
Well,
last week. And this week he couldn't because he's got a funeral to go
Yeah, I've
to,
got a
but-
funeral for one of the saints of God today.
All right, that's all the questions we got. Appreciate the booth not jumping in and stealing our thunder and answering the question. Good job, guys. Well done. Got the thumbs up from Jim for that. And Josh was bold enough to put his phone number in chat.
Wow.
Wow. I'm going to reference his number when the spammers call me and say, hey, this is the guy you want to talk to.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Jim. Oh, Jim was bold enough to put Josh's number in chat. I see. That's good. That's always good. All right, well, there's no questions. So we got to do something to find some questions.
Well, we can talk about what the sermon's about this weekend.
We could do that. This is your last chance. We're going to talk about the sermon.
Yeah.
But so what are we preaching on this week?
Last week we talked about how do we just make it through in this COVID time, and we saw the importance, the need to discover exactly who God is and who he's made us to be as we worship together, to connect with God and with others, and then we're ready to make an impact as we move into this uncharted territory. This week we're going to look at how do we deal with all the fear and anxiety that comes our way in this time, and how do we get past that. And we're going to see what God has in store for us as we look at dealing with fear and anxiety in COVID.
Now, there's not a lot of that, though, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot
Yeah,
of fear and anxiety right now.
As we talk to people, and ask us to share some of their experiences, whether they talked in person or email or letters, one of the things we noticed was there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of worry for themselves, for loved ones, and so hopefully this will be helpful. God's word is always helpful.
Indeed. The booth wants to know your favorite movie, because I did my favorite movie the week you weren't here.
My favorite movie?
Yeah, your favorite movie.
Well, I've always enjoyed Fiddler on the Roof. That's always been one of my favorite. I don't know why, but it is just really good stuff. I also do enjoy The Princess Bride. And then for comedy, who doesn't enjoy the old Pink Panther movies with Inspector Clouseau?
Who indeed?
Thank you.
I would have told you Princess Bride was a comedy one.
Yeah. Princess Bride is really, is really good.
It is really good.
Yeah.
I agree. I found someone the other day who didn't like The Princess Bride. I felt bad for her.
Nobody we know, right?
No, it's somebody we know. I felt bad for her.
Yeah, well,
she's missing out.
Clouseau is more slapstick. So.
Yeah. All righty. Well, that's all we got. There's still no other questions. So, well, hey, thanks for joining us, for chatting with Chuck. It's always good to spend our Friday lunch with you, and we're excited to have this opportunity. Really excited to see you in worship, whether that's in person or on the stream. I would love for you to join us and gather with God's people through technology to be united and worship our great God. We love you guys, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.